I guess since we last did one of these, a lot has happened. We recorded the day before, 2 days before deadline. And that got fucking insane again. We were talking all this shit about Vegas, and then they went and made another even more absurd move that like they're also locked into for like 6 years. So I don't even know they're gonna. Well, they'll figure that out later by like I don't know, probably publicly executing. Yeah, they're gonna be like, all right, let's look at our cap sheet. Anyone that's making above like I don't know 5 that doesn't have like 100 points, they're gonna get publicly executed. So like we'll make room somehow, some way. But they did that.
Imagine that though for the live show before the game, like fitting in with the Vegas Golden Knights theme. Like they go up there and it's just straight guillotine.
Yeah, remember that first playoff where they do it every. They do. They still do that, like the pregame, whatever the other team's like logo or mascot is, the Golden Knight kills, which got very. I said this at the time before their first final. I was like, what are they about to do with the Washington? They better be very careful about this. Like, what are they? They're like, oh fuck, we can't do that. Apparently, good. Anyways, I mean, with the deadline, Minnesota predictable. We'll, I guess, briefly probably touch on that a little bit, and then briefly touch on the other big moves around the league and big focus. In theory, that's supposed to be the bulk of the podcast, but it never is. We usually get to our draft rankings about an hour in. We're going to be talking about the top 10 or my top 10 coming out of Russia. And then I don't know, any other chaotic or just dumb conversation in the meantime.
Well, let's start with the dumb conversation. And I don't think it's dumb at all. Especially how much we love our alcoholic beverages. Did you see what Molson's did with the PWHL? Because it's fucking awesome.
Sure did not.
Oh, it rocks so hard. So they have a whole campaign going around how like there's a problem in women's hockey where the women that have long hair or ponytails cover up their nameplate. So Molson has a whole campaign as a sponsor of the PWHL where they put their logo where the nameplate should be, and the girls' names go under the number, and it's basically like cover up our logo so that we can see yours or whatever. Cover up our name so we can see yours, and it's brilliant.
That's kind of I like that. There's a lot of European teams do that too, and then it's pretty popular in like any of the professional soccer leagues like around the world. Like there's some countries that do advertising on their jerseys, much like European hockey, where you're just like, I don't know who this player is. I just know the number. I don't even know where the fucking name is. But I like that, dude.
Awesome.
Well played, Molson. Yeah, I love that. I forgot that they were actually like a big spot. I've completely forgot about that. I've only had a handful, and I'll tell you what, don't mind it. I don't mind a good Molson every once in a while, dude. Sometimes if I'm at a bar and I just feel like, yeah, let's give one of those a rip, and it's usually a good start.
But those are always a solid one. But for me, and it's a real bummer because they don't have it anymore at Tom Reed's. So sorry, you won't be able to check it out when you're here. But for the longest time, they had Kokanee on tap.
Wow.
Like big Canada vibes. And that was just like, that was the only beer that we were allowed to drink when we went there. It's like, well, you gotta have Kokanee. You can't have it anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if I see that on tap, it's illegal to not give that a go. I mean, that's great. I've never seen that before. Yeah. Oh yeah. God, love that. I mean, where should we start here? I guess we've got some shit to get through.
Let's just start like trade deadline. We already said pure insanity from Vegas. Coming out of it though, now everything's settled. We know what's happened. Like, do you want to go winners and losers? Do you want to just say, like, now looking the rest of the year, who your front runners are for the cup? Like, what angle do you want to take on it?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, because the actual the Hannafin package wasn't out yet by the time we were done recording. The fact that one of the conditions on that first round pick was, hey, this will be a first round pick if we don't want to use it in the next like 48 hours is legitimately outrageous. You know, the league was probably like, all right, fuck, we never thought of this one. All right, well, I guess you could do it. That's insane. But then also, like, the fact that Calgary was like, all right, okay, there's no way they could possibly move that pick. There's no way they would ever add. They can't add anyone else that would be worth the first round pick. Whoops. But it's just an outrage. I think there should be no rules on the conditions of the pick. And 100%. Actually, I'll go a step farther. I think the league should have the right to nix it and say, no, you can't do that if it's not creative and funny enough. I think every condition needs to be just like, oh, we didn't think of that one. Yep, you're good. Do whatever you fucking want. I think that's really the way it is. That's just a very funny condition. It's like, you might have, if we don't use, you can have it if we don't want it. Like, we're going to use it. It's all yours. I love that. I think it's so funny.
I don't think it would be widely deployed just because of like risk of injury and things like that, or seeing the greener grass elsewhere and not wanting to stay put. But why can't there be trades that get like undone later? Like, why can't you trade a player to a team for a playoff run and then have them trade the player back to you in the summer? Like some of the rules that are put on, like, oh no, you traded with each other too recently, so that player can't go back there. That wouldn't make any sense. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, if we're still allowing part like a part of a trade to be quote unquote futures, like I feel like you should be able to do basically whatever the fuck you want to do.
Right. Yeah, that feels accurate.
Yeah. I mean, another big move. Mateo just put this in the chat. I feel like we should just let you get this off your chest. The Gensel move. How do you feel?
Throw it up. I didn't even see it.
The return, Jake Gensel to the Carolina Hurricanes, which is just such unbelievable work from Carolina. The fact that they bring in one of the smartest players in the National Hockey League. Jake Gensel, go off.
I mean, it had to happen. The trade needed to occur. It's a real bummer that that's like what the return was when everyone's expectations, I think, were built a lot higher. I actually don't hate the return. Like, end of the day, it's not awful. It's just you look at it and it's like, okay, Bunting, solid NHLer, like kind of fits the profile of a guy that you can just slap with Sidney Crosby and it'll probably work. You get a bunch of like, it was definitely quantity over quality, which I understand because Pittsburgh's prospect pool is pretty thin, but I would have thought that there'd be a guaranteed first or a blue chip prospect or like a better NHLer. Like any of those one things would have made me feel better. Kind of like we talked about with the contracts that Guerin gave out. Like if they just didn't give out one of the three, I don't care which, I'd feel better about it. If the Penguins could have gotten just one of those assets slightly bumped, I'd feel a lot better, but they got what they got. The players, all in all, look like they're going to be NHLers. There's just no one that has really the ceiling of being, you know, that blue chip guy. And holy shit, dude, are the Pittsburgh Penguins in free fall. It came up. I got to ask you, because we talk plenty about the 2024 draft, and I'm sure you haven't looked that far into the 2025 draft, but do you see the 2025 draft being like equal, above, or below 2024 as of now with what you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously too early. I mean, it's probably still even. We have a pretty good idea of what the 24 class is. But I mean, there's always late risers, even at this point in the year, that like guys that are probably projected as like early third, late seconds end up like playing unbelievable the next like couple months here and end up going first round. But I would say the top end of 25, like especially, and again, I bring up Sweden all the time because that's the region that I focus on the most out of any of the regions. But 25 in Sweden, like this year,
it's just pretty bad.
By far the. Well, yeah, and we just there's a couple of guys I think that are actually and this is what we talked about before too, like pushing
Right.
to go like a lot higher. But like this is compared to what we're used to out of Sweden, this is by far the weakest class I've ever seen. Like there's no real definitive out and out like top 10 guys. There's very few that have chances to go in the first round. But 25 is absolutely fucking loaded for Sweden. They've got one guy that should be pushing for at least top 3 in Anton Frondell. And I mean, there's a couple of Russians who are going to be pushing for top 10 and 25. You got like a guy like Michael Misa and Saginaw who's been lighting up the OHL for 2 years now. It's this very strong class. It's kind of at this point in the year, I probably would have said the same thing about the 24 class, where the top end is ridiculous and it starts thinning out pretty quickly. Like 23, it was like if you have a pick in the first round, you're like very excited. 24, like this upcoming, like if you have like a top half first round, you're definitely getting a player with like top end potential. I do think there's more at this point with the guys that we know for 25. Like I think there even might be a couple more guys with like legit super high ceilings. But again, we're so far away. But 25 looks to be a very strong class, especially at the very top.
Okay, so tell me then, because I've heard people say pretty definitively the opposite of what my impression would be. The Pittsburgh Penguins right now are sitting, last I checked, I could be off now, but I thought they were around 7 or 8 in the like draft lottery projections. And it's top 10 protected, the pick that they traded to San Jose. And people are like, no, you give it to them and you see what happens next year. I'm completely in the opposite camp. I don't think that there's a world where the Penguins are this bad for all of next season. Obviously, there's going to be room to make moves. I just don't. I don't know. I can't imagine a world where they're a bottom 5 team next year. And to get a top 10 pick that maybe you do get playing with Crosby in this group in like a couple years, I don't see why you would even consider punting that. Am I crazy or are other people dumb?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and like there's just I can't possibly see a scenario where the Pittsburgh Penguins are, I mean, like not just like a bottom 5 team, but like even remotely close as bad as they've been this year. Honestly, like they might be like, I still see them at least challenging for like a playoff spot next year. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what they look like long term without Gensel. I mean, people can say they want about a guy like Michael Bunting, but like, first of all, I like a lot of I like a couple of the prospects that they got back in that Gensel trade a lot. Like Vasily Ponomarev is solid. Like with his draft year, I really fucking liked him, and of course Carolina got him. Ville Koivunen is an unbelievable prospect in my opinion too. And then I mean Cruz Luce is just a whole lot of fun. So I actually like those guys, but bringing in Bunting, who I mean, you can say what you want about the contract, but he can play. Obviously, we know this. So the fact that you have a guy that is going to be able to play at a pretty high level for that, I would say, the rest of his contract, I think that's like you're not going to fill Gensel's role, obviously, but he could still play. And it's not like you're getting just scraps. It wasn't like a cap thing. So I can't see a scenario where they fall to like a bottom 5 team next year at all. I still think they're going to be in the hunt, at least going for a playoff spot. So, yeah, I mean, I would probably take the pick this year, honestly.
That's where I firmly land, but I guess, I don't know, other people know more. Fair enough. That's all I really have on that. Sad to see him go. Honestly, it would be hilarious if he still just turned around and signed with Pittsburgh again next year.
Just sign a sweetheart deal. Oh yeah, that would be incredible.
I don't see that happening. I don't think it'll be a sweetheart deal. I think they would find a way to bring him back if he wanted to, as long as it's not like breaking the bank. But I don't know. It's weird times in Pittsburgh, but I don't know. Until Crosby isn't playing at an elite level, I'm still going to believe that there's a chance that they can at least be frisky. Contenders? No, but frisky.
Yeah, and I mean, apparently we are just living in a world where Sidney Crosby will be playing at an elite level until he's 136 years old. because that motherfucker just can't stop. It's unbelievable. He is just, I mean, he's an absolute specimen. Like it's incredible. Every time I watch him, like, God damn it, like slow down one time. Like, come on. Like, just like for my own mental health, like please. But yeah, as long as Crosby's doing his thing, like,
well, just
he's always gonna keep you in the fight.
Keep that mutant Rempe away from him, because that guy's a fucking lunatic now. I'm sorry. Like, talk about that hit, man. That was gutless. That
was insane. That was bad.
And then waving at fucking McDermott as like he refuses to fight him and he leaves. Like, oh, bye. Like, dude,
that's a mistake.
Read the situation a little bit better.
That was a mistake. I mean, the hit was outrageous. Like a literal flying elbow to the temple. I couldn't even believe was it Siegenthaler?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe he like stood up. It was just so insane. It's like, why do you're 7'8"? Like, why do you feel the need to like leap ever? Like, I'm fucking crazy.
The leap, and then it was just a vintage Jacob Trouba chicken wing elbow to the face. Like
that was bad. Like
from being directly mentored by Trouba. It's the only way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the way that it was going, like he already had that hit on Bastion earlier, of course, also against the Devils, and like just with the way that he started his NHL career. And then all the press he's getting, it was always like I felt like at some point it was going to be either he would run into the wrong guy, which could have been that Olivier fight, but
yeah,
it was either going to be that or it was going to be he's going to do something insanely stupid because he's kind of just like running amok with like it looks like no real. Like there's no holding him back, and they kind of just like let him off the leash a little bit there, and he clearly like he's been in the league for 10 minutes. You can't do that after saying no to fighting McDermott and then waving at McDermott after. And obviously McDermott had some words for him after the game, that post-game scrum. But that elbow was just no one. Absolutely zero people were like, oh no, that's fine. It was like, oh fuck, that was oh boy. Okay. No, we can't be doing that. It's like, all right, let's we gotta rein him in now. But I mean, he's young, he's been here for 10 minutes. Like, you can't be doing that shit. But it was always, I feel like he was always headed to be doing something outrageously stupid.
Yeah, but based on what we've seen historically, are you surprised that NHL player safety got this right? Like I did not.
Yeah, what did they ended up giving him?
4-game sussy.
Yeah. And I mean, I think
I'm surprised.
Yeah, that with given the fact that he's been in the league for 10 minutes again, like 4 felt about right. That being said, he does anything remotely close to that again, he's looking at 10. Like they're gonna be like, okay, now you are absolutely on our fucking like he already was on the radar for the Bastion hit. Like they already like knew who they're like, all right, I guess we're gonna keep an eye on this fucking guy. And then just goes out and just delivers a flying elbow to Siegenthaler's head. It was crazy. But yeah, that did feel like, given where he's at, the fact that he's somewhat, very new to the league, the 4-gamer felt right. Again, like he can't fuck up at all because they're going to be looking. If
it was right, I'm questioning, like, is this the first time we've seen NHL player safety like get it right to a level where like no one is questioning it? Like everyone's like, oh shit, like I would have been happy with 1 or 2 just given past decisions.
Yeah, like I think the one reaction that I've seen that was like not necessarily like, all right, they got it right. It was like, all right. I mean, probably a little lucky it wasn't 5. Like honestly, it probably was a little bit for that because it's ridiculous. Like you cannot fucking throw that hit. It's not even a hit. It's not even it. I shouldn't even call it a hit because it was literally a flying elbow. So, but yeah, the fucking Empire State Building. My God, what an absolute fucking.
I have not heard that one yet.
You haven't heard that one?
I haven't heard that one yet. That's great.
It's pretty accurate.
Jesus.
Man. But let's see. Our boy Matty Dumba to Tampa Bay.
Greener pastures.
People can talk all they want about the player, the trade, whether it was, worth it for Tampa Bay. I'm just happy that Matt Dumba is in an environment that, in theory, should give him a good chance of playing playoff hockey, potentially making a run. I am very scared of Tampa Bay Lightning as a potential wild card team. That scares the fucking shit out of me. I think any number 1 seed is gonna be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
it's gonna be
Florida. Here. We have to play Tampa Bay. I hope it needs to be. The hockey gods need to make that happen because those, it's beautiful. But was it first or second game? Dude, first or second game for Dumba, he fights Sean Couturier. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Good for him. I love Matt Dumba, so I'm just happy he's in a winning environment at this point. Good for him. I was happy for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much more trade deadline stuff we want to do outside of Minnesota, unless you have something.
Just real quick, because for Fellowship of the Rink with Joe Smith, we've actually got a new official sponsor. Good friends at Barrel Theory, currently drinking the delicious Shooter McGavin. Nice golf ball dimples on the can, just beautiful. One of my favorites of theirs. They carry it pretty regularly. We're actually doing a new segment with them. And unless we come up with a better name, which feel free to chime in the chat, everybody, but it's going to be called Keyboard Warriors. It's going to be a hot take segment where basically you guys are going to give us your hot takes or find people that say ridiculous shit on Twitter. And you're going to drop it into the comments on a post we throw out weekly. And we are going to talk about the most ridiculous ones. But this being the first week where we introduced and talked about it, I threw out my hot take that, again, it's a hot take by design, but I think the team that people need to worry about in the West is Winnipeg. Without any background or explanation, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. That's that hot of a take, honestly.
You just look at the love that were made. There's a lot of people high on other teams. That loved it. Great move.
The Toffoli edition. What a move. And I mean, also, I'm very happy for Sean Monahan. It was looking like he was about done at the end of his Calgary stint there. Those injuries were just horrific. And he could not buy a fucking break. He would come back. He would either get hurt again right away, or if he would have 1 or 2 solid games, he would get hurt. Then after that, he was stuck in there bottom 6. He was getting health bombed. And shout out, I don't like saying shout out Montreal, but good for them for acquiring a first-round pick, for bringing him in, and then acquiring another first-round pick to trade to Winnipeg. And he just keeps scoring in Winnipeg. So, I mean, that top 9 is absurd. And if they can stay healthy, they are an absolute fucking problem. And you've got Connor Hellebuck, who is absolutely kicking in the crease right now.
That guy should be getting way more heart consideration.
He's absurd. I mean, they've got people. I think people try to. I don't know if it's just trying to downplay Winnipeg in general all the time, but I feel a lot of the times they end up talking shit about their back end. I think their back end, they might not have a number 1 elite. I don't put Morrissey in that number 1 elite category, but they've got a bunch of defensemen who can fucking play. They're mobile. They've got a couple big boys back there that they can stir it up. Yeah, sure. But Connor Hellebuck, that makes up for an entire D pair anyways. So they're very well balanced throughout their lineup. And on the back end, they've got some guys that could score as well. The top 9, the consistency, and their defense core has just stayed healthy all year. You talked about that with Declan Chisholm. and you've got Connor Hellebuck going the way he's been all year long, like they're a problem. Like the Central Division, that first round, they're all looking around like, God damn it! Like, what's the point of like? I don't even care that we're the fucking first seed. Like, it doesn't even fucking matter at this point.
Well,
Like,
but hang on, it does because
yeah.
see, I have beyond the Florida versus Tampa series that you need. I got another one that you would easily trade for it. Winnipeg, LA.
Oh yeah, we need that. I mean,
we need Pierre-Luc Dubois in Winnipeg for a playoff game. Like, I know attendance is down. There's ticket sale issues. They'll show up for a playoff game, and that is a scary atmosphere. The smaller, tighter environment, the fans, like, they get that place rocking, and there's going to be so much hate thrown at him, and that is going to be the series that basically defines his career. Can he step up and play big in that series, or is he just going to be bitch boy moving forward?
Yeah, I think with Winnipeg too, I think now as the years gone on, they've just stayed nasty all year. I'm pretty sure that building is packed every game again. But that place in the playoffs is an absolute madhouse. I strongly, if anyone likes to go back and watch old playoff series, 2018 Nashville Winnipeg was an absolute fucking electric factory. Game 3, Winnipeg came back. I think they were down 3-0 in that game. Dustin Byfuglien went to work, and they won that game in the third period there. I think they won 5-6-4 maybe. I don't know. An electric game. But Winnipeg, that place in the playoffs is fucking insane. It is electric. It's one of my favorite buildings to watch playoff. Like, whenever I'm picking which playoff game I actually want to watch, because there's so many going at the same time, I will always throw Winnipeg on. Like, they've got the whiteout going in that place, despite the fact that it's one of, if not the smallest building in the league. Well, actually, no, Arizona is by far the smallest in the league. That place is rowdy in the playoffs. So, yeah, no, I don't think that's too hot of a take there, because they are an absolute problem. Like, a problem. They went through like one bad spell a couple weeks ago, and now they're already back to I think they've got a couple games in hand on who's in first now. Dallas?
Yeah, maybe, but Winnipeg's got the games in hand.
2 games in hand, I think, right? And they're they're almost level on points.
And no one wants to finish 2-3 there. Like, that's going to be a bloodbath no matter what. You need to get the wild card, unless it ends up being Vegas, which would fucking.
That's the thing. You might get Vegas. Like, that's crazy. You're praying.
I love it.
You're praying that it's either going to be if you're finishing first in one of the divisions in the West, you're praying you end up getting Nashville, or if Minnesota does the fucking goddamn thing that we've been dreading and squeaking in somehow. Which, by the way, we do have to talk about that Minnesota Nashville game, or at least the end of that game.
Yeah.
Give John Hynes the jackass for that fucking. Give him a wheelbarrow at least to fucking walk those nuts around, dude.
I mean, that's also ninja level shit where he did it and made sure that the players had no idea what the rule was. Matt Boldy is not taking that shot if he's like, oh fuck, if I miss, we're getting 0 points.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But if you're getting one of those number 1 seeds in those, you're praying it's either Nashville or you're getting if Minnesota.
LA too, dude. I want LA. LA doesn't scare me at all. They don't.
Yeah, they really need.
Blue line is suspect. They've got the forward depth, but again, PLD hasn't done shit.
Yeah. No, they needed to do something more than they did. I mean,
just anything. Anything would have been great.
Yeah, they would have.
No, yeah. But real quick here, thank you, Gun Totin' Granny, for the support. Anyone that hasn't listened, as we're doing the live stream here today, it was today. If you're listening on podcast, a couple days ago on the Sota Pod feed, Fellowship of the Rink, awesome interview with Declan Chisholm. Guy's an absolute beauty. A lot less of the hockey talk too, a lot more just bullshitting about what he's about. And he's just a good dude, just guys being dudes. And coming up next week, this one is for you, Z. We just banked today the driveway man himself, Adam Beckman. And the guy's actually awesome. He had more personality than I expected. He is a great interview. More to come on that later. Yes, Sean, one rink to rule them all. Brilliant. And Friday or Saturday, we're hoping to have a completely separate feed up for Fellowship of the Rink. So as soon as you guys see that pop up on social, please go over and subscribe, follow, 5 stars, the whole thing. So we can try and ramp that up quick. And I have to, Z, for Isha, this is like just ridiculous. I won't donate to Z again unless Hoppy reads my last dono comment. # save the turtles. I didn't even know he sent something in, but now I see it in here. The best part, before we even read the comment, he gave a $2 donation, Canadian currency. So that's worth like 70 cents tops. But here we go. Saving the turtles. I see no more straws. Brilliant work.
Well done. Really good stuff there. Thanks for the nickel. Can't even do laundry with that, but all right.
Yeah, that's accurate. But yeah, the Wild game. What the hell, dude? That was pretty insane. Now, the real question comes, and I know there's good arguments on both sides, but if you're really worried about the points race, why aren't you making a balls on the table move like that in the third period so you get 2 and the team you're chasing in Nashville gets 0?
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing that first of all, that penalty call, like
on Eck, fuck that.
Are you fucking kidding me? Nobody, zero people watching hockey want that called ever. Like that was, I was sitting there, by the way, I may or may not have been watching on my phone while out to dinner with the first lady. Didn't love that, but that's fine.
I mean,
just like
I think she was okay with her like McDonald's value meal.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's where we were. That's where we were. I almost puked when I saw that they actually called that. That was outrageous. And of course, fucking Nashville ties it up on the power play. What a shot by O'Reilly. Jesus Christ. He can still bring it. But such a kick in the dick that, like, if you really do want to make the playoffs, of course, they score on that power play. They were always going to. The second, I feel like whenever the Wild get that call against them, or really just any third period call up 1, like, you're like, okay, yeah, no, they're going to tie it up right here for sure. Like, there's no chance they're killing this penalty. So, of course, O'Reilly does that. And, like, they've said it. They basically, if they really do want to make the playoffs, they have to win out. But I just loved seeing Fleury's reaction on the bench. Like, he doesn't usually get to experience that. Like,
yeah,
even when it's because of a delayed penalty, like, it's so rare that they actually score on that delayed call. Just seeing him going bananas, and he's probably like, this is cool as fuck. You guys do this all the time? Like, this is awesome, dude. He was fired up. I think he forgot that, like, the game was over because he was like on the bench, like, oh shit, yeah, I could go off now. But
just sprint through the net.
Yeah. He probably skated back to his what a call by Hynes. I love the fact that it worked out like immediately. But my number one takeaway from that goal that people just haven't really, I haven't seen brought up, that pass from Zuccarello was outrageous. The no-look slip pass, just threading the needle cross ice. Like, a slip pass is sick when you, like, pull it off like a 6-footer. That was a 20-foot cross ice, no look, like, and he's got the long twig too. So, like, when he could just generate the power with the shoulders and just slip it across the ice to Boldy on the fucking tape, Zuccarello is so nasty. And I love when he pulls that shit off. Like, I hate it when he's overpassing because he's just waiting for his buddy Kaprizov, which Kaprizov absolutely was waiting for Zuccarello to get on the ice when they entered the offensive zone. He's like, we can't do anything unless Zuccarello's here. I'm not allowed to do anything. I have to wait.
I'm going to hear about it for a week if I do.
Yeah, exactly. Dad's going to be real pissed if I...
Bad pillow talk.
Yeah, exactly. But I like that was the one I was like, I have to at least mention this next week when we do this podcast because that pass was absurd. Like, and I feel like he should be getting way more credit for that, specifically because he does have that fucking long twig. So he has to generate like all of the power to just get the puck to Boldy. Like, that's all torque. It's absurd. Like, that pass is insane. So I really wanted to bring that up. And what a shot, Boldy, too. Jesus Christ. That was sick. Unfortunately, it was an OT and not in regulation. So Nashville did end up getting a point. But like you said, I do love the fact that no one other than John Hynes and maybe half the coaching staff, probably. I feel like Darby was aware. I feel like he'd know the rule. I just love that. Like, they're like, what? After the game, they're like, wait, what? That's like a very... I wish I was in the room when they all found out that if Nashville scored, they would have lost the point. They were probably like, no way, dude. I wish I was there for their reaction. I bet it was outrageously funny.
What's the classic from like so many movies and TV shows where like they go out and like accomplish something and they're like, oh, it's so good that worked out because otherwise you would have all lost your jobs. They're like, the fuck?
Who's that guy talking about?
What are you talking about? And Darby for sure knew, but like he's so conditioned that he's just gonna get punched right in the gut that he's like, I'm just gonna keep this one to myself.
It's like, sounds good. Fuck.
And I will say the one argument against is that there's definitely a difference between a 6-on-5 and a 4-on-3, right? Like way easier to keep possession and find your shot. But still, if you're that worried about it and you're willing to take the risk that they go score on your empty net and you still get 0, bigger brass ones if you do it in regulation and don't forfeit the point.
Yeah. But fair enough.